Joining us now on the Michigan Megacast is John Lindley. He is the president and CEO of the Michigan Manufactured Housing Association, as well as the Michigan Association of RVs and Campgrounds and Self-Storage, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. John, thanks for being with us today.
Oh, thanks for having me, Tyler.
Appreciate having you on. So it was really interesting early on in the pandemic as people were trying to figure out what are we going to do in our little pods as a family, especially to get out in the community, get out and recreate, have some fun and not be so cooped up in our houses. And so what they said is, let's go into another form of housing and get inside an RV and go travel around the state of Michigan. Many people bought RVs. In fact, the numbers were quite staggering early on in the pandemic. There's a statistic that was provided in our notes. In 2021, shipments of RVs totaled over 600,000 units nationwide. That was a nearly 40% gain over units that were shipped in the entire year of 2020. So the momentum continued to be there. What do you believe post the initial portion of the pandemic, when everyone was locked down, has been that motivation for people to continue to be so interested in camping and in RVs?
Well, I think that, and once again, thanks for having us, Tyler. I think that the initial portions of the pandemic, where there was a necessity and a desire to get outside, drove some people to the outdoors, potentially for the first time, discovered the RVing and camping lifestyle for the first time and what the great outdoors had to offer. And then there would be people who potentially rediscovered it. Maybe they camped with their families when they were kids and hadn't since, but had an opportunity to rediscover the RV and camping lifestyle through the pandemic. And very frankly, if you spend a couple of long weekends or a week or even a couple of days in one of Michigan's many campgrounds and the great outdoors here in the state, it doesn't take a genius to understand why people continue to return to those areas after experiencing it for the first time.
So many people, when they think about camping, they think about being out in the elements, about being in a tent, about, it's middle of Michigan's summer, there's no AC, it's going to be humid. But Michigan's got a great wealth of campgrounds and interesting places that allow you to see the nature of Michigan without necessarily having to go and get a hotel or get an Airbnb or find other housing in the city or in cities near Michigan's lakes or Michigan's forestry. Why is camping in Michigan, especially in the spring and the summer seasons and even in the fall, such a unique experience for those here in the Midwest and really across the U.S.?
Well, for a number of reasons, without any question, but from the very southeast and southwest corners of the Lower Peninsula, all the way up to to the Sioux and the eastern UP and the western UP and the Porcupine Mountains, there are 1,300 licensed campgrounds and RV parks in the state of Michigan, right around 1,300, and they offer immediate and close proximity to so many different things that you can do here in the state of Michigan. And certainly, the outdoors is what people think of. But that's not the only place. There's a lot of campgrounds and RV parks down in Southeast Michigan around many of the museums like the Henry Ford and otherwise to see and other different fantastic tourist activities. Jellystone Campground in Frankenmuth is one of the most popular campgrounds in the entire state of Michigan, with the nearby water park and, of course, everything that Frankenmuth has to offer.
We're joined by John Lindley. He is the president and CEO of the Michigan Manufactured Housing Association, as well as the Michigan Association of RVs and Campgrounds and Self-Storage, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. For more information on the Michigan RV and Campgrounds Association, you can visit michiganrvandcampgrounds.org, michiganrvandcampgrounds.org, which has information on various regions of the state and travel info and different places you can go, opportunities, as well as more. Again, that's michiganrvandcampgrounds.org for more information. And so for those that are traveling and maybe haven't traveled in an RV before, or haven't gone camping before, but want to explore Michigan, what makes that experience so much different than maybe some of the more traditional touristy events and vacations that some may take in the state of Michigan, to really give them opportunity to interact with what makes Michigan special?
Well, for my family and myself, and I believe thousands of other Michiganders who enjoy that portion of the camping and RV lifestyle, for me, it's the outdoors. Being able to, I have my cup of coffee, my breakfast outside every morning when we're camping. We ride our bikes around the campgrounds, as an example, and enjoy everything that the great outdoors has to offer. Another perfect example of that for me is getting outside of the artificial light of the suburban areas where I live. And I've looked up at the sky before and thought, I didn't know it was possible to see so many stars as what you're able to see in some of those areas around the state of Michigan. So it provides a great and affordable ability to travel and see different parts of what Michigan has to offer as well.
We're joined by John Lindley. He is the president and CEO of the Michigan Manufactured Housing Association, as well as the Michigan Association of RVs, Campgrounds, and Self-Storage on the Michigan Megacast. Again, their website is michiganrvandcampgrounds.org, michiganrvandcampgrounds.org for more information. We know on the automotive side, for cars in particular, with the chip shortages, with the supply chain issues, that manufacturing cars and particularly getting those cars to sales lots and ultimately to the customers has been a bit of a struggle. Has that been a similar experience on your side of things with RVs, given that the technology in these vehicles is very similar, of course, to other traditional motor vehicles, but also maybe even in some cases more advanced because there's more technology in it?
Yeah, that's a great question, Tyler, and I appreciate you asking. Early on during the pandemic, the RV industry was no stranger to some of the struggles in supply chain that other industries had as well. But I can tell you with a great level of confidence now that those struggles don't largely exist anymore. The availability of inventory at RV dealers across the state of Michigan is fantastic right now. If you drive by the lots and visit with those sales teams at those different RV and retail centers and dealerships, you'll find exactly what it is that you're looking for. There may be a little bit of a lingering problem with some of the motorhomes, class A, B, and C motorhomes, where the inventory isn't as great as what it once was pre-pandemic. But even that is starting to come around to a much greater level of inventory than what we had seen early in, for example, in second quarter 2020.
Another interesting statistic, while in the past, most RVers had rented or borrowed their RVs for vacation, nowadays 77% of RVers own their vehicle. Regardless of that, whether you're renting an RV for a family vacation or just to get away for a little while, or you're owning an RV and this is going to be one of your assets and you're going to be traveling around with this, what should people that are interested in RV camping or in owning an RV be considering before they look to purchase or look to rent, so that they are getting the best experiences possible out of this product, but also so that they're being safe and they're being considerate and they know what they're getting involved with before they get into it?
Yeah, that's once again a great question. There's a lot to consider before making a purchase like a new RV. The first, for example, is do I want to motorize or do I want a travel trailer? Something that I'm going to tow behind a vehicle that I have or that I'm going to purchase, or something that's going to move itself, drive itself to my ultimate destination. Beyond that, once you make that decision, you've got to start thinking about different floor plans and layouts, obviously size and weight. Different tow vehicles come with different tow capacities, and being able to know how much does my pickup truck or SUV have the capacity to tow, whether it's across town or across the state. And I'll tell you, Tyler, the best place to try and figure out exactly what it is in that marketplace that a consumer wants to buy are the RV shows that take place across the state of Michigan. In fact, MARVAC, Michigan Association of RVs and Campgrounds, presents the 6th largest and best RV shows across the state of Michigan every year. And we've got one coming up in not too long, September 28th through October 2nd in Novi.
We're joined by John Lindley. He is the president and CEO of the Michigan Association of Michigan Manufactured Housing Association, as well as the Michigan Association of RVs and Campgrounds and Self-Storage on the Michigan Megacast. John, another minute with you or so before we'll say goodbye today. Anything else that would be interesting or important for our audience to be considering about RVs, about camping, and more in Michigan that your organization works with?
Well, I mean, you touched on it a little bit. We like to refer to the camping and RV lifestyle as the original social distancing. It obviously became very, grew in popularity through the pandemic, but has maintained that popularity throughout. Just to keep in mind that wherever you are in the state of Michigan and whatever it is that you're wishing to get out of the camping or RV trip that you're having, there's something for you. RVs are available from, under $7,000 to well over $500,000 for a Class A motorhome versus a pop-up camper. And there's campgrounds, like I said before, from the western UP to the furthest southeast tip of the state. There's something for everybody without any question here in the state of Michigan.
John, appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us, Tyler.